Hi, and welcome back to Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom. Today, we're going to talk about big events. What can we do to prepare our kiddos? How can we help them during? And what do we do after? Let's do it. Welcome to the Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom podcast with Kira from Kira Brown Coaching. I'm a mom of Neurospicy kids and a life coach. I'm here to share real tips and support to help you feel confident as a parent. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. We would like to welcome any new visitors that we have, and we also welcome back those of you that have been with us from the beginning. Welcome, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about getting ready for big days for things like birthday parties or holiday gatherings or a school concert or going on vacation or people coming to visit. Big events can bring about big emotions for our neurospicy kiddos, and let's talk about that. Why does it happen? What can we do to prepare? What do we do in the moment? How can we help them after? And how do we take that data and even do a better job next time? So let's discuss all of that today. We and our family and the religion that we're in baptize our children at the age of 8, and our autistic kiddo decided to get baptized, and so the day for that was on his birthday, and that means we had 12 people come and stay at our home that were coming from out of town to support him in this decision. And while we were super, super excited to have that support and that love and strength coming in to support him in that decision, we also had a lot of anxiety and emotions about that. We had meltdowns before people got here. We had meltdowns while people were here. And we definitely had meltdowns after everybody went home. And so let's get into it. Why do big events, why are they so hard for these neurospicy kiddos? Or neurospicy adults, for that matter? They're hard for me too with ADHD. Why is it hard? Something we always talk about, I swear, with every subject, but we're going to talk about it again because it applies, is there's a sensory overload that goes on with big events. There's new sounds, smells, lights, crowds, and it's unpredictable. They don't know what to expect sensory-wise. Their bodies aren't used to those sensory inputs. So sensory is a huge one on why they're hard. We have a loss of routine. We talk about this a lot too, but routines equal safety in both our autistic and our ADHD kiddo. Our autistic kiddos like routine because they know what's coming. They can be in control. They can, they can predict what's happening next, and they can prepare for it mentally. Routines are great for ADHD kiddos because it's an external framework for a body that doesn't have an internal framework. And so it keeps them where they need to be and doing the things they need to do. And this change in routine can bring about anxiety and even dysregulation. So a loss of routine or a change in routine can be very hard for our neurospicy kiddos. The third reason that it's hard for our neurospicy kiddos is there are a lot of social and communication demands. There's unfamiliar people, there's small talk, there's unclear expectations. Each person they talk to or see at a party has a different expectation of them, and they don't even know what that expectation is. And so it causes a lot of overwhelm, this communication and social demand. And then there's a lot of executive functioning that has to happen on big days, parties, social events. There's transitions, there's time management, there's the ability to be a flexible thinker, and we know that that is extremely hard for our neurospicy kiddos to be flexible thinkers. They tend to think in black and white. It's going to be this way, and that is the way it's going to go. And then when it doesn't happen that way, like life is, then that throws them off. So the executive function load that happens at these big events is a big deal for them. But I just want to remind you that their quote unquote behaviors at a big event is not misbehavior. They're not choosing to misbehave. They didn't think, hey, I'm going to be naughty and bounce off the walls, or I'm going to scream to get attention. They didn't say that. It's not a misbehavior. It's a stress response in their body. Let's say that again because I feel like that's very important. It is not misbehavior. It is a stress response in their body. So how can we help them be prepared for that stress response? How to work through that stress response? Because it's something they have to learn. And it might take them longer to learn than a neurotypical kiddo, but they can learn. They are capable. It might even be more important for them to learn it than a neurotypical kiddo because their reactions are bigger. What can we do ahead of time? Let's preview or front load the event. Let's talk about it. Let's make a visual schedule for them. Let's show them pictures and photos of people or the place where we're going to be. Let's tell them what to expect, what order things are going to happen in, what they're going to find when they get there. Tell them all the information that you can. That is so important because then they can mentally prepare for it. And their anxiety may have them asking you what if questions or what next. They may ask you a lot to repeat what is going to happen. And that is okay. That is just their brain trying to cope with anxiety. I know my kiddo getting ready for his baptism was like, well, what if nobody comes? What if I decide not to do it? What if? And he wanted to know a solution for it. And what if that solution doesn't work? And what if that solution doesn't work? So try to be patient and let them know that it's all going to be okay. That we'll work through it. No matter what happens, we'll figure out something. You can even practice role playing. You can practice doing greetings. You can practice waiting in line. You can practice wearing certain clothing, like we practice wearing our costumes for Halloween. Or you can even do a mini version of the event at home. Have a practice party. See how it goes. You plan for regulation ahead of time. Definitely plan for regulation ahead of time. Is there a quiet zone or a safety space that they can go for a break? Find one. Do they need to go sit in the car for a minute? Do they need to go into a quiet bedroom? Is there a bathroom that they can go into for a minute? Where can they go outside for a minute? I know we went to a Halloween party a week before Halloween and we were getting dysregulated and things were not going well. And so we just went for a walk around the block and then he came back in and he was great. It was a great reset. So plan for a place for regulation. You might bring things like their headphones, fidgets, comfortable food that they can snack on, or weighted items, whether that's a weighted blanket or weighted vest. It could also be a weighted stuffed animal that they carry around, but kind of have a sensory survival kit. With his baptism and birthday party, people were coming to our house, right? We were having lots of people. I couldn't leave the party early if we were having a problem. And so I made a safe place for him to go. He could go in my bedroom, which nobody else was allowed to do, and crawl under a weighted blanket and have his fidgets and watch a familiar cartoon until he felt ready to come back out again. And you want to know what? Nobody minded. Nobody thought it was rude that the star of the show was not there for the whole thing. In fact, they enjoyed it more because when he was with us, he was present and well regulated instead of throwing things or screaming. So plan for a quiet space and then prepare for transitions. This is important all the time, even in daily life, but give them a countdown. We have 10 minutes and then we're going to leave. We have 10 minutes and then it's going to be time to eat. We have 10 minutes and then we need to clean up. We have 5 minutes and then we have 1 minute. However much time that they require, you can kind of figure that out. But that helps at home on the regular, and it definitely helps at a party. That's part of, you can carry that routine over. And plan for some buffer time before and after. You might need a little extra time. It might take a little bit longer to get ready, or it might take a little while to calm down after the event. So just prepare some buffer time. The day of the big event, it's really important to keep calm yourself. Try to have as much prepped ahead of time as possible so that you're ready, so that you can handle meltdowns. But co-regulation is going to be key. Co-regulation is a big deal. And then we need to stick to little routines as much as possible. If we normally eat breakfast and then get dressed, don't switch it today. They can't handle it. It's too much. Stick with the little things that you can stick to. If we listen to a favorite song in the car, or if we listen to a podcast in the car, or we have a certain spot in the car, don't switch it up on them. Today is not the day. Even though it seems really small and trivial to us, it is a big deal to them. And that might be what pushes them over the edge. So stick to predictable routines as much as possible. And that could include bringing food they're comfortable with, that they're used to eating. Offer choices within limits. Do you want to give a hug, or do you want a fist bump? And talk about it beforehand and how they can do that without being rude. So let's say we're going to see Grandma, and Grandma thinks she's going to get a hug. Well, when you see Grandma, say, "Hi, Grandma," and offer your fist if they just want a fist bump. And if Grandma wants a hug, just say, "Grandma, no, thank you. I don't feel like a hug right now." We can talk about this ahead of time and prepare them for these situations so that they don't have to do things they're not comfortable with, and they feel like they have autonomy in their body and they have choices. Really watch for early signs of overwhelm. This might be covering our ears, zoning out, pacing, being louder than normal, becoming hyperactive, being whiny. These kinds of things can tell us that they're starting to become overwhelmed and dysregulated. And this is when we might put them in that quiet place, or give them a fidget or their headphones or something, or even leave the party early. We don't have to wait for a full-blown meltdown to be like, "Oh, we're done." Have an exit strategy. Know what you're going to say. Have a keyword between you and your spouse. If you need to, you can take 2 different vehicles so that one of you can leave early with your neurodivergent kiddos, and one can stay with your neurotypicals, and everybody can have a good time. But have a plan to leave early if you need to. It's okay to leave early. And then after the event, allow for quiet recovery time. Don't expect them to talk about it right away. They just need some downtime. Where can they have some downtime? Maybe that's getting them in their bed if it's late at night. Maybe that is allowing them to play with their toys that they're familiar with. Whatever. Allow for some downtime. Things that will help them recover and recoup. And then after their downtime and their recovery time, let's gently reflect on it. What went well? What was hard? Talk about it so that we can make some changes for the next go around. It's data. It's all data, and we get better and better all the time when we reflect on the data, and we don't take it personally. It's just data. It's a scientific experiment. What helps, what didn't? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Let's review all of that. And they can tell you more than you think usually, but you have to wait long enough after the event for them to be calm and regulated again. And make sure when you're reviewing with them that you celebrate their wins. It might even be small, really small, but celebrate those. Celebrate their wins. Let them know they're doing a great job. They can do it, and they did awesome. So just to wrap up, just remember, Mama, you're doing, or Dad, you are doing better than you think you are. You've got this. You guys will figure it out. It takes some trial and error, and just remember, sometimes it might go really well and sometimes it might not, but you've got this. And just remember to have compassion for both you and your kid. Well, just last night we had some unexpected visitors stop by our house, and Mr. Autistic didn't handle it very well. He was very dysregulated. It was hard. I couldn't have a conversation. I was trying to help him, trying to convince him to go to a quiet place, and there was some grief there for me because I really wanted to visit with these people that stopped by our house. They had traveled. We don't see them a lot. It had been a couple of years since we had seen them. They were only here for a short while. So there was some grief and some disappointment on my part. But I also know that his nervous system was having a hard time, that his body was responding to sensory input. He had already had a day at school, and then he had to hold it together for company, and it didn't go very well. He was overwhelmed. He couldn't mask any longer. And so I can have compassion for both me and my child. It can be a both and situation. Preparation builds predictability, and predictability builds peace. So just remember that when we know that these things are coming, if we prepare, it will build predictability for our kiddos, and that predictability will help them have some peace. I am still in the process of figuring out what works and what doesn't. So if you have any great tips and tricks for big events, social events, DM me or email me. I would love to try them out. I'm always looking for more tips and tricks to try out. And if you guys all want to send me tips and tricks to try out, we'd love to try them out and give a review of how they went if you want. We could do an episode like that. So don't be afraid to DM or email me. I'd love to hear what works for you guys or what hasn't worked for you. It's always great to hear other people's ideas, to open our minds and help us have more ideas. You're doing better than you think you are. Keep up the great work. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for listening to Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen or supported, please take a moment to like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. And if you know another parent who needs to hear this, share it with them too. We're all in this together. You're doing better than you think, Mama. You've got this.